I'm here. Just because the camera's not on yet doesn't mean I'm not here. I promise you, I'm here. I'm just trying to adjust something on the graphic thing before I pop the camera on. But I'm here. I promise. It is Writer Radio. It's episode 258. We've got a lot to get to today. No guests, just hanging out, you and me. But there is plenty to discuss as we get rolling here on a Wednesday. See, I don't like how that thing is in front of my head. I was trying to make it smaller but still legible because I want to keep the ad up there because we need more people to show up for Brain Vault. Last night was the second installment of the live trivia show / exhibition / party at the Kaz in South Buffalo. A lot of the issues that plagued the first show were resolved in time for last night, which is great. Everything was far smoother than it had been. But we've got to get it we got to get the crowd pumped and moving because the energy that we had the first show was reflective, I think, of a lot of people being pumped up. Like, oh, you're doing this new thing. I'm going to the new thing. I'm going to go to the first one. And you came to the first one, and we had it was a lot of fun, but I had problems just personally because it was the first time I'm doing it, but that's okay. And then yesterday it was smoother, but it was more like the crowd was timid, and a lot of that is on me. I feel like I didn't explain at the start of the show exactly what was going on. In my mind, it's like, oh, we know what we're doing now. We'll be fine. But I forgot to lay everything out right at the beginning. Like, all right, here's how it's going to work. Here's me. Here's Tim Graham. Here's the vault. Here's where you're going to put your names. Here's how we're going to do the thing with the phone. Here's how you're going to scan a QR code. It all worked, but I didn't come out and take control of it and explain this is what we're doing. And I think that we all were sort of punished for that. So that's on me. But again, the idea is to build and build. And this is what I do. I'm a builder of things, apparently. Next week will be better. The week after that will be better. We're going to get more people. They're going to sit closer to the front. We had the vast majority of people. If the basement, it's not the basement. The main floor, the main room, because there's a balcony too. Mezzanine. Sorry, I don't know all the terms. It's a very nice venue. I'm not used to this sort of thing. I don't play live venues. I don't usually have green rooms. The green room is the best, though. The green room has a fireplace, and it has a television, and it has a makeup mirror with the light around the side of it, like LED lights where you could touch it. And it's got its own bathroom, and its own fridge, and its own shower, and there's a QR code. You can order food and drinks, and they'll just bring them down to you just by scanning stuff on your phone. It's awesome. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to play the Kaz in some way, whether you have your own convoluted trivia show, or you got a band, or you're a comic, or whatever. The place is awesome. The people are great to deal with. The venue is spectacular, and there's just little tweaks that need to be made to get the energy where it needs to be. I picture a raucous version of trivia night. I go out every week, or have been going out every week for 15 years to play trivia, and it's fun, but it's very relaxed. You sit there, you hang out at a bar, sit around with your friends, you talk to them. Every now and then they ask you a question, you put an answer on a piece of paper, you write it up. This is meant to be more high-paced, more fast, exciting, fun, crazy. And yesterday was just not crazy, and I need crazy. I got to get the crazy pumped into it. The good news is there's a lot of good news. I mean, I'm making it sound like it was some sort of a disaster. I'm apologizing for the lack of energy that I think I kept out of the room last night. I beat myself up over this stuff. I also feel great about how it went. And I'll be honest, something else I recommend, which I haven't done in forever, is I went out to a bar last night. After the thing was done, Tim was like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I've got the kids here. I've got to take them home. They haven't eaten. We have to stop and eat something. But, yeah, I'll go have beer with you and Jonah Bronstein. Yes, that works. In my neighborhood? Yeah, okay. Went and did that. I got to say, I love going on my UB trips, in part because I watch TV with my guy friends. I watch TV. I watch sporting events with Scott Wilson and with John Fuller and with Paul Peck and others on occasion. But that's kind of our crew most nights. the night before a game. I confess, I don't sit and watch SportsCenter by myself anymore, but I should. It's a good show. Remember that show? Got all the highlights from what happened during the day? What happened that night? Like watching SportsCenter's top 10 plays is boring to me by myself. It's really fun if you're sitting with especially sports guys like Tim and Jonah who are critiquing the rankings of the top 10 plays on SportsCenter. Like, this soccer goal was way better than all those dunks. Tim was obsessed with highlight number 5 last night. It was clearly better than numbers 1 through 4. We got a chance to mock flag football. And not really mock flag football, but this was Tim again. Tim's opinionated. And a great addition to Brain Vault. He's in for whatever. So I've got him. I have to do it every week to confirm that he's going to be there, but the plan is to just have Tim there and then add somebody else each week. We won't just keep stacking them. Like last week we had 4 people on stage. Yesterday we had 2 people on stage, in addition to the people who came up, who were summoned to the front. But yeah, it was fun, and I enjoy just kind of being around guys I can BS with. I live a very sheltered life. I'm home always, except it used to be on Tuesday nights I'd go out with a couple guys, Fuller, Cave, sometimes Bob Gone, and play trivia. Now I'm hosting it, so now it's the highlight of the week, which led to it ends, and I was like, okay, Tuesday's over. We got through it. Yeah, let's go have a couple beers at a local bar, a bar I'd never been to. Also, great move by me, accidental. Showing up to a bar and finding out in the moment that it's cash only. When you have no cash, free beer. I had 3, but like free beer because I only had a card. I brought my card and I got the thing on the back of my phone now where it holds cards, but it's really tight. So all I have in there is a card, a debit card, and a driver's license. That's all I keep in there. So when I walk into a bar that takes cash only, I'm screwed. Now, at the very end of the night, you're there for like an hour and a half. But as I was leaving, I noticed the ATM in the room that I could have just used, and then I could have paid for my own beer. But I did not. I walked in and said, all right, who needs something? Because I was the last one there. Like, I'll take another one. I'll take another one. Like, all right, you both having the same thing? I'll have the same thing. 3 of those, please. Waitress, bartender, whatever. No problem. Hands me 3. Pull out the card. She's like, oh, we're cash only. And then both Tim and Jonah are like, I got it. And they pull out money. So I got free beer. Got to hang out with my friends. Got to talk sports. Got to recap what was going on at Brain Vault. Got to make plans for Brain Vault. And got to talk about some of the news of the day, including the story. Everybody's texting or emailing me or calling me about the Bills leaving WGR. They've been there for 14 years, and they're breaking up. And most of the theme of that has been, oh, that's got to be a disaster for WGR. I don't think it's a disaster for WGR at all. They are the place you're going to go to hear about the Bills. They are the place you're going to go to hear about the Sabres. Whether the games are there or not, they are firmly established in their position. And I don't see how anything changes aside from them not having to pay a buttload of money for the rights to be the official broadcaster. I'm not saying it's perfect and it's definitely great, but it's not automatically bad news that you get to stop paying for something that people are going to come to you for anyway. You pay for the rights to the Bills, not for, and this is in my mind, this is no, like, I'm no corporate, Odyssey person or whatever. You pay for the rights to the Bills so that people have the game on in the car, and then when they turn on their car in the morning, they're getting Jeremy and Joe. That's, to me, what it's always been for. I think people are going to find GR still. I think certainly everyone listening right now has that station programmed, and it's probably number 1 on the little button you push in your car, right? So if they get to stop paying to be the official rights holder, but people still go to them for commentary after games, between games, before games. I don't know. The whole time I worked there, we didn't have the Bills. We had the Sabres for the last couple of years, but we didn't have the Bills, and it was completely fine. So I don't know. There's a lot of this coming my way, in part because I'm friendly with all those guys. A lot of the texts are coming from people who used to work there when I did. It doesn't seem like a disaster to me at all. Kind of seems like an opportunity to me to not spend all that money. There are people who still think I work at GR. I've heard this from like management over there. My name will come up. And they'll be like, "Yeah, I like him." I'll be like, "He hasn't worked here since 2007." It's been 19 years since I worked there, and people still are like, "Oh yeah, Brad from GR." So, the Bills talk. Where's that? GR. So what does it mean? It means they'll have to go back to saying those weird, we don't have the rights phrases, like, it's a Buffalo Football Monday. They have to talk the way that Store 716 has to sell shirts. It's a Buffalo football shirt. It's not a Bills shirt. You got to do that. But other than that, Store 716 is doing fine. GR is doing fine. It's going to keep doing fine. So I just, for all the messages I've received about what a disaster this is, and I got a screen, or not even a screenshot, like a picture taken of the actual paper. My parents get the paper because they're old. And not that there's anything wrong with getting the paper. I would prefer to have the paper show up at my house every day. I just never got around to reading it, so we stopped doing it. I still support journalism, what's left of it, and the Buffalo News. I still believe in that. But I got a picture of a headline, and it looks like it was front page. It didn't look like the sports section. It looks like top left, above the fold, front page news, Buffalo News. The Bills are leaving GR. The Bills had a statement about it. New home of One Bills Live, which is the Chris Brown and Steve Tasker show, which I assume will continue airing, at least for now. Maybe that ends this week. Yeah, starting Monday, February 9th. One Bills Live will be distributed in-house. Traditional radio broadcast currently on WGR and a Rochester affiliate will transition to streaming exclusively on BuffaloBills.com and the Bills app from 1 to 3 every weekday. One Bills Live will continue to be simulcast on MSG Western New York. Statement from the Bills. The delivery of media content has changed dramatically over the years. Yeah, tell me about it. I sit in my basement and do a show every day, and it's working. We believe the model of in-house production, distribution, and sales will better position the organization to provide access to our fans as well as allow us to further engage with the local business community. That's the one there. That's what they're saying. Like, we're just going to do it all here, and then we're going to sell it instead of you paying for rights, and then you get to sell it. We're going to sell it. That's all. It's a money thing. I don't know how I feel if I'm in the sales department at Odyssey today, knowing full well that I've been able to walk around saying, yeah, we're the Bills. We're the Bills. And now I can't say we're the Bills anymore. But they did it before. They'll do it again. They'll be fine. I think it's roughest on somebody who's in that spot, who every day wakes up, puts on a tie, goes and talks to businesses and says, give me your money because I'm the Bills. And they don't get to say I'm the Bills anymore. And it wasn't really I'm the Bills, but we're the official radio home. Like, that's where it hurts. But were they really making money, like, net, when you're paying whatever they were paying to have the rights to say we're the Bills, and then you sell off of that? Is it definitely a problem to not have to pay that thing anymore? Free up a ton of resources and still talk about the same games like we did the whole time I was there? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's a crazy issue. It's big. It's different. It creates buzz, and they've got to solve it. But I think it's very solvable. And I'm not even there. It seems all right to me. In-house distribution will enable the Bills to expand their network of station affiliates across New York State, Southern Ontario, and additional regions throughout the country. The Bills will work with Good Karma Brands, a media and marketing company with expertise in leveraging the power of national and local sports to build out their content distribution plan. Sure. With this transition to in-house production and distribution, the Bills and WGR will conclude their 14-year broadcast partnership, One Bills Live co-hosts Chris Brown and Steve Tasker will remain in their current roles. It's not like Steve and Chris were driving to the studio in Amherst to do the show. It was already somewhat an in-house production. Like, they're totally equipped to do it themselves. Again, I'm not comparing myself to a professional football organization. But if I can sit here and do it myself, they can do it themselves. And they've got the means to make all the connections. That's where they've got me beat. I can do this, but it's just me. So we have our technical problems. We have our issues with convincing people that this is a legitimate opportunity to put your product in front of people. There are issues. Plus, it's just me, as I said. They've got all the stuff. They still get to say they're the Bills. Why are they letting somebody else say they're the Bills? So I understand it from their perspective. They do the shows from One Bills Drive, hence the name One Bills Live. So none of that changes. You're not going to see anything different if you're watching the MSG version or you're watching the streaming version. And they're just going to stream it on their own website instead of letting the radio station have the shows. But that also frees up a ton of money, a ton of time for the station to improve. So that, I don't know. I just think there are a lot of positives that come out of this, really, for both. I get both. I didn't understand necessarily why it would continue. I knew that the rights, like the contract is up, and there are multiple ways that you can go. You can, if you're a team, you can sell the rights, and then a station owns the rights, and then they can sell advertising into that. Or you can hold your own rights. You can buy time on a radio station, or it might not even cost, it's the distribution of the money that is the issue, and there are all different ways to do it. I wouldn't be shocked, because the games, I think, will be on the radio. They're talking about affiliates. It's not going to be all websites. A game being on the radio, to me, in an era where blackouts are gone, a football game on the radio is for when I'm in the car, right? Now, when I'm in the car, I have a phone. I can stream. Maybe I'm going to go through that. But the whole point of a football game being on the radio in Buffalo, New York in 2026 is that when I have to run to the store and there are 2 minutes left in the half, I can listen to the last 2 minutes while I'm driving to the store, get out, run in, grab whatever I need, and get home in time for the second half. We watch the games on TV. We watch the games in person. We watch the games at friends' houses. We watch the games at bars. We listen on the radio when we're in between. That's travel. I don't remember the last time I turned on our radio, to listen to a game while I was indoors. It's for when you're stuck at a wedding. It's for when you have to go to a Little League baseball game and you're going to miss half an hour because you're getting from Williamsville to Elma while there's a game going on, or you're getting from here. I watched, here's when I used the radio this year, a full season of Bills football. I used the radio because I had tickets to see a comedian, James McCann, at Helium. And the show was at 7:15, and the Bills played at 4:30 against the Chiefs. And I had to figure out what to do. And the answer was leave just before halftime, drive as fast as I can, listen in the car, get out, go into Helium, watch the rest of the game. That's when I used 17 regular season games and 2 playoff games. I needed the radio broadcast for 24 minutes. And even that was mostly listening to a halftime show. I missed the last 2 minutes of the first half, but I heard it in the car. And I got there. It was like the third play or fourth play of the third quarter. And I watched that on TV. The radio filled that gap. That's how important having the game on the radio is to me as a Bills fan. Now, if you're stuck at work and you don't have a TV, okay, there's some of that. But really, what is a radio broadcast of an NFL game when none of them are blacked out anymore? We all watch them on TV. I'm being slightly hyperbolic. I know that because we don't all. But in general, it's not, did you hear that game yesterday? It's, did you see that game yesterday? And the answer is yes, I did see that game yesterday from everybody. We all see the games. They're all on TV. So, I don't know. It feels all right to me. I also wanted to talk about it because I don't know where else anyone's going to talk about it. I can talk about it because I don't work there. I don't have inside knowledge. I'm just, I think, an educated observer of the situation. And I think it's very interesting. Like we talked about it a lot last night, sitting around with Tim Graham and Jonah Bronstein after the brain vault thing. It's interesting because there are a lot of moving parts. You know, what happens to this? What happens to that? A lot of different stuff to discuss. But I don't think it's going to be discussed in media anywhere. I mean, it's in I think, the front page of the Buffalo News today. But that's not a conversation. That's just an article. So I figured I'd bring it up. All right, we got a bunch of stuff in the chat that I'm going to scroll through here. I already saw that. I don't pirate anymore, says AC Man. Those days are in my past. You were a pirate, AC Man? SportsCenter is not like it used to be 20 years ago, sadly. I know, but I liked watching it with people. I didn't watch the whole show. I'm not there to learn sports news. It's just a big screen behind a bar. It felt throwbacky. I haven't sat in, like I said, I go out Tuesdays for like an hour and a half, and we split a couple pitchers of beer, then I go home. That's the TV I'm looking at has trivia questions on it. Now, that was until a couple weeks ago when I started hosting my own thing. But yeah, it felt good and throwbacky to watch SportsCenter Top 10. And I was there long enough that it looped twice. So while Tim was livid about this soccer goal only being number 5, and I missed it the first time, we got back to the top 10. Must have been an hour later. He's like, all right, watch. Tell me if anything here is better than number 5. And he was right. Nothing was better than number 5. But I liked it. I liked being at a bar with beer in SportsCenter. It just felt good after doing a live show. Sure, I'll say what everyone is thinking today. Or what everyone is thinking. Brad's hair looks fantastic today. I do think I look all right. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. I got all dialed up for last night, too. I've got the whole video file. I got home, so show ends, Brain Vault ends at the Kaz in South Buffalo. I've got 2 of my kids with me. I have to wait, and I feel bad because, like, I can tell everybody's trying to leave. But I have to wait for this file to finish going onto this thumb drive so that I have the full video of the show. I had it last week, but last week it was 7 different cameras of stuff. This week it's, yes, the 7 cameras, but also one file that is a fully edited, like, my man Steve was there pushing buttons, directing it as if it was a live stream. So it'll be, close up on me, close up on the person on stage, close up on Tim, shot of the crowd, whatever. It all bounced around. So I had to wait for that. I got that. Realized on my way to Brain Vault, this is going back in time, but on the way to ask, hey, did you guys eat before you left? And Zach's like, I didn't eat anything all day. He was homesick from school. He had a migraine. He slept all day, woke up, and was like, yeah, I want to go. So he went, and Nate went. And Nate had lunch at 11:30 and nothing since. They're like, all right, we're going to stop on the way home. Right before the show ends, I know I'm going out of order, but you'll get the idea. Show ends. Tim Graham says, what are you doing? I said, well, I got the kids. I got to take them home. He's like, what about after that? I said, yes, I'll meet you and Jonah for beer. Good. Except I forgot we hadn't eaten. So then I had to wait around for the file for like half an hour. Then took the kids to eat. Then went home. Then said, hey, is it all right if I go out with Tim and Jonah for a little while? My wife's like, yeah, I don't care. She's falling asleep in the chair anyway. What's the difference? So I didn't get out till like 11. I got home at like 1, and then that was it. I was done. So I've got this thumb drive that I intended, if I didn't go out with Tim, I would have come home and edited some of the show and put some of Brain Vault live on here. I don't want to just grab the full thing. I want to edit it. So hopefully by tomorrow, I'll be able to show you, a couple clips, give you an idea of what you're walking into, and help get us set up better to bring in a larger crowd for next week. And we'll keep pushing forward. We do still have a promo running where if you buy a ticket for one of the Brain Vault events, you will then receive a code that gives you a free ticket for a future Brain Vault event. So while you're looking at tickets costing either $15 or $20, it's actually getting you 2 shows. So highly recommend it. Please go in there. I'm sure that I haven't looked, but I'm sure tickets are on sale now for next week's show. And I anticipate we'll have a bigger crowd. The show will be smoother, all of it, as we just move forward. But I've got it all sitting there, and had I not chosen to go hang out with my friends, you'd be watching it right now instead of listening to me. You'd be watching and listening to me, but it would be from yesterday. So I guess that's not that great. It's just a taped version of me. But I would look better. I look better than this. This is I just rolled out of bed, Ben. And I look this damn good. Okay. I was thinking it. Thank you, Ben. Overreactions to this news are crazy. This news being the Bills separating from WGR. Ryder and Wilson. I wish Scott lived here. Scott Wilson is the best. He lives in Syracuse. Ryder and Wilson, 1 to 3 p.m. in the future. Can they call them the Bills when reporting the score? Do they have to say the Buffalo football team beat the Jets? No, they can. In a news context, you're fine. In a commentary context, you're fine. It's more the commercials and the promos and the branding. Like, you, let's say, and I think this is right, that M&T Bank is the official sponsor of the Bills. That's the official bank. So they're the only ones who can say Bills in commercials. So take that and just apply it to a radio station. They can say, welcome to Buffalo Football Monday, but they can't say welcome to Bills Monday. They can say, welcome to Buffalo Football Monday, where we talk about the Bills. The hosts can say that. That can't be recorded. That can't be pre-recorded. That can't be the big voice guy. Big voice guy we have to scrap everything the big voice guy has ever said that has Bills in it. Is my understanding. This is a loose explanation of how it goes down. But believe me, I've spent many, many years talking about the Bills while the station that was employing me did not pay for the rights. And it was fine. We did just fine. We interviewed the players. We interviewed the coaches. We interviewed general managers. We had access to, behind-the-scenes stuff. We got to go to training camp. We got to be in the press box. You got to be on the sideline. You got to, whatever. You got to do all the stuff. You just can't. It's crazy, which is why I don't think it's going to hurt them that much. I don't think it's that big a deal. They've established themselves as the place that talks about the Bills. And BuffaloBills.com, of course, talks about the Bills. And they're going to stream things there, and that makes sense. Might it mean that when there's a massive news conference because a coach got fired or hired, that they can't do it live anymore? Maybe. But we used to carry stuff live. But I also remember a time when we would, let's say the Bills hold a press conference to hire Joe Brady. And we're at GR, but we're not affiliated with the team. There have been times where you'd plug into the same place you would plug in to stream the thing. Broadcast. You would broadcast the thing. Now I'm talking modern era, but there was a time when we had to plug in, record, and then as soon as it ended, we could play it back. So let's say it's GR, let's say it's Mike and Chris, let's say it's they're hosting, let's say Chris Brown is still the Bills beat reporter for a radio station that doesn't have the rights. Chris would be down at the thing. He would plug in, he would record the thing, and then as soon as it ended, Mike and Chris are on the air going, yeah, there's a thing happening at One Bills Drive. But meanwhile, what's going on with the Sabres? They talk for 20 minutes. Then the thing would end. And then be like, oh, we got Chris Brown? All right, here it is. Here's Tom Donahoe. And you play it, and it would sound exactly the same. It would just be 20 minutes later. Those are the kind of hassles that could come up. But I don't anticipate that. The Bills hold a press conference now. All the TV stations carry it. Whatever radio stations want to carry it. I friggin' carried it. You can do that. Moving on. The FM simulcast on 107.7 FM will be nice for greater exposure. True, probably better quality too. Yeah, FM is able to use HD radio. Yes, they have to pay for the rights, but then they get to sell all the ads for the game and the ancillary shows. It's not just a cost, but a major revenue driver. That's true, but there are various approaches to the relationship between a pro sports team and a media outlet, and they're not all as cut and dried as that. You pay for the rights, and then you get to sell all the ads. Not necessarily the case. That may have been the previous model. But there's obviously a hybrid version of that, and there's one where teams just pay for the right. They buy 4 hours of broadcast time, 5 hours of broadcast time from the radio station. That's their money. That's the station's money. And then the team sells everything that's there. And then if you do that, you can still backhandedly sell advertising on the station because you're surrounding the pro team's programming. But that's where you get into the part where you can't say Buffalo Bills. So there's a lot, man. There's a lot here. It's not as simple as we quit GR's screwed now. It's not that. They're the only sports station in Western New York. If people want to listen to Buffalo sports content, they have to listen to WGR, so they will have no problem getting ad revenue. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Sabres Live and One Bills Live are on air during the least listened to period of the day already, so there won't be much changing for them, and it won't be hard to make better content than Sabres Live or One Bills Live. Besides, the door is still open for the games to remain on WGR. Yes, I said that earlier. The cost of an ad spot during the Bills game is probably 3 to 5 times more expensive than a spot on the morning show. According to the internets, the morning show ratings do a 7 to 9 share, while the Bills games do a 25 to 40 share. That's a lot of ad revenue out the window. But it's also a lot of cost thrown away to pay for the rights. I don't feel like, and maybe this is the part that I'm not saying correctly. I don't feel like this is a one-sided decision that the Bills are like, screw you, you're out. We're not doing this anymore. The alternative was going to be, all right, here was our previous deal. Here's our next deal. I mean, I'm sure there were negotiations. I'm sure there were conversations. This was not a simple decision made without weighing other scenarios. Again, I'm guessing, but just knowing how these things have worked in the past. If the Bills are like, we could do this ourselves, and for that reason, the rights are now going to be double what you were just paying. Well, then would it still make sense for WGR to say, okay, yeah, we'll do that because the Bills games get a higher rating than the morning show? No, not necessarily. So everything's a negotiation. Everything's about money. What's this going to cost? What's it going to bring in for sure? What's it going to bring in potentially? It's all of that. And I don't know that Odyssey, which is the parent company of WGR, I don't know that they didn't turn down an offer to continue being the rights holder. The Bills announce it because it sounds way better to say we're going to do this ourselves. GR doesn't announce it because they're like, yeah, we don't have the Bills anymore. And it sounds terrible on the surface, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as it's being made out to be. I mean, the stuff that you're saying in the chat makes sense, but there's a lot of gray that we're missing if we just declare this. The Bills are leaving GR, and I don't think that's the case. It sounds more to me like they broke up. And, whether one precipitated the other. The leader was the Bills going, we don't need you. So if you want us, it's going to cost 150% what you were paying before. Or whatever the number is. It doesn't matter what the number is. But this announcement certainly is the result of a negotiation. It's not the Bills going, bang, screw you, GR, we're out. It's not that simple. And I don't think it's that crazy. It's a new landscape in media, in sports, in streaming, in all of this stuff. Does this connect directly to Turning Point USA announcing a star-studded lineup for its rival Super Bowl halftime show after the Bad Bunny backlash? Kinda, right? Turning Point USA has finally released its highly anticipated lineup for the All-American halftime show. Where's this airing? The NFL polarized fans in late September with its decision to hand the stage to Puerto Rican musician Bad Bunny, with MAGA supporters promising to switch channels during his performance in the middle of the Seahawks-Patriots game this weekend. It's now been confirmed that there will be another option for football fans, with Kid Rock headlining an alternative show for more conservative viewers. That's a funny sentence right there. Kid Rock is now alternative. Remember when alternative music was The Cure? And then alternative music was Nirvana? Except that was the most popular music, but we still called it alternative because we're morons. Remember that? Well, now it's an alternative show. Like, ooh, who's playing? Pavement? No. No, Kid Rock. It's an alternative for conservative. That's stupid. Scheduled to air around 8 p.m. as a direct alternative to Bunny. The show will also include Brantley Gilbert. I've heard of him. Lee Bryce, never heard. Gabby Barrett, never heard. We're approaching the show like David and Goliath, Kid Rock said in a statement. Competing with the pro football machine and a global pop superstar is almost impossible. Or is it? In a statement to Fox News, TPUSA spokesman Andrew Colvett said the All-American Halftime Show is an opportunity for all Americans, there you go, to enjoy a halftime show. Great sentence. Great sentence, spokesman. This is why they hired you. You're the best at your job. Hi, I'm the spokesman for TPUSA. All right, what do you got to say? This is very important. The All-American Halftime Show is an opportunity for all Americans to enjoy a halftime show with no agenda other than to celebrate faith, family, and freedom. So no agenda other than our agenda. This is the greatest statement of all time. The All-American Halftime Show is an opportunity for all Americans to enjoy a halftime show. It would have been great if it ended there. But then it goes on with no agenda other than our agenda. That's awesome. You imagine saying that and thinking you said something? That's amazing. So I've heard of, I know who Kid Rock is. I've heard of Brantley Gilbert. I don't know the others. That's the, man, can't wait to tune in. We can't wait to watch the incredible show they're about to put on. We know millions around the country will be watching too. Bunny, we just call him Bunny. Bunny has continued to receive criticism from some fans as he prepares to headline the official show in Santa Clara on Sunday night with President Trump among them. Okay, there's an implication that the president is a fan and is critical of what Bad Bunny is doing. That's not real. Maybe they mean football fans. He's received criticism from some football fans. Okay, that would make sense. Trump told Newsmax last fall, I don't know who he is. I don't know why they're doing it. It's crazy. And then they blame it on some promoter they hired to pick up entertainment. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Turning Point was founded by Charlie Kirk, and his widow Erica has vowed to continue to promote his message after he was killed in September while taking part in an event at Utah Valley University. Days after his death, she released a video saying, the evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you've just unleashed across this entire country and the world. Solid. That sounds a lot like patriotism, faith, and merciful love. You have no idea what you've unleashed across the entire country and this world. I'm not trying to mock her. Her husband was killed, and she's still speaking up on his behalf. There's nothing wrong with that. But an alternative halftime show featuring Kid Rock and presumably that's 3 country singers. I don't know. Bradley Gilbert is country. Lee Bryce sounds country. And it looks like Gabby Barrett is a woman who is attractive. Bunny has been extremely vocal in his criticism of ICE, also opting to avoid scheduling U.S. tour dates over concerns his Latino fans could be detained while attending the shows. It's not that crazy that he's like, I'm gonna not go there for a while. Ron Hawkins, last time I talked to Ron Hawkins, he's like, I'm not coming to the States for a while. So if you'd like to see me perform, just cross the border, come up to Canada. We're cool here, but I'm not coming down there. And it made total sense. He doesn't need to do that, and Bad Bunny doesn't need to do a tour of the U.S. Like, is that what Trump's mad about? That he won't tour the U.S.? I don't know who he is, but I'm mad that he won't tour the U.S. and that he's playing the Super Bowl. Bad Bunny was on SNL shortly after being announced as the halftime show performer. Said, you might not know this, but I'm doing the Super Bowl halftime show, and I'm very happy, and I think everyone is happy about it, even Fox News. A heavily edited clip then played, stitching together the comments of various Fox anchors and pundits so that they said, Bad Bunny is my favorite musician, and he should be the next president. He continued, thank you, wow, thank you, but really, I'm very excited to be doing the Super Bowl. And I know the people all around the world who love my music are also happy. Super Bowl halftime show does not have a major impact on anyone's life. And to feel the need, I still haven't seen where this thing is being broadcast. Where are they putting it? Where to watch alternative halftime show 2026? All American halftime show will stream February 8th during the Super Bowl. This is on YouTube and a Rumble channel. It will also air on conservative networks, 9 of which you've never heard of, and 1 of which is OAN. Real America's Voice is a network. OAN, DW Plus, TBN, which usually means the Buffalo News to me. Charge! ! And NTD. As in, not today am I watching an alternative halftime show featuring Kid Rock and people I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? All right, I'm going to close that one. The Turning Point show is streaming only, but only if the people interested enough can figure out how to use a computer. Kid Rock discussion again. It's the first time I've mentioned Kid Rock in a long time. I'm reading backwards here. They're unleashing Kid Rock against the world. That sounds like a threat. Yeah, right. Oh, Kid Rock. The last time I enjoyed Kid Rock was when my buddy got married and the wedding party got introduced to a cool part of the song Cowboy. That wedding took place in probably like 1998 or something. So, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say I can't wait to watch Bad Bunny, but I certainly can wait to watch Kid Rock and don't need to find an alternative stream to check that out. I bet we'll be able to see it afterward, whatever happens, because I'm interested enough, but you're putting it online, which means it'll be online afterward. So I'm just going to watch a football game. It's kind of like Bills games, where if the Bills are on, I'm not available. I can't do anything else. If the Super Bowl is on, I'm not available. I'm going to change the channel during the Super Bowl? Never. I'm never going to do that. But it doesn't mean I won't want to check out what the hell happened in the other. Where are they doing this? Is this just a studio performance? Like a New Year's Rockin' Eve type of deal? I mean, there's not going to be a crowd, right? Is there going to be a crowd that attends this concert of superstars? There's going to be 4 different locations, live streaming. Something's going to go wrong with that. Nah. I'm not going to change the channel during the Super Bowl. Thanks for the offer. I'm good. I'm going to stand pat on watching the thing everyone else watches. I'll be fine. I got to take a break. It is Writer Radio. It's episode, what? 258. Oh, you guys talk. That's right. You guys have conversations when I'm not around. I forget about that. We discussed him this morning on the morning show chat, Brad. LOL. LOL. There it is. Well, you LOL all you want, and I'll BRB. I'm BKR, and I'll BRB on RRF 258. Momentarily. Stay. So I spent that entire time reading stuff, and I'm debating like what's interesting to me versus what's interesting to anyone who has tuned in to episode 258 of Writer Radio. Did a lot in the first hour of the show about the news that the Bills and WGR are breaking up. And then I'm reading this other story about The Ringer and Spotify and Netflix and their relationship. And it seems connected to me. It's a different world. Media is constantly evolving, and it's connected here. So I'm going to go. Part of me wants to just read this entire thing out loud. I'll try to not do that. I'll try to just read some of it. But it's an article from The Hollywood Reporter behind Spotify's decision to partner with Netflix. And most of the quotes, or maybe all of the quotes in here, are from Bill Simmons, who is a mastermind at all of this stuff, at navigating all of this stuff, at being ahead of the curve on all of it, at first blending pop culture with sports 25 years ago, and then evolving with all of that, and getting out of writing and getting into podcasting, and getting out of ESPN and starting a thing himself, and getting into producing of movies and documentaries and having relationships with all these various media outlets. It's been impressive. He's done HBO stuff. He's done Spotify obviously, and now Netflix. And I like it. I've talked about this a little bit, that stuff that I typically will seek out is just popping up in my face. Even the Bills lost their game to Denver, and I was like, I'm done with this. No more football for me today. I'm going to watch Netflix. And I put on Netflix, and the first thing that popped up was Bill Simmons and Cousin Sal talking live about the game I just watched. I was like, all right, fine, I'll watch this. I intended to not watch it, but I did. So I get what's going on here. Like, I get why they're doing it. But it's super interesting to me, just the business aspect of it. And think about this in the context of the Bills WGR thing. Again, the messages continue. I just keep getting texts because people know I like the Bills, and people know that I am friends with people at GR and that I work there and all that stuff. So everybody's like, Brad, did you see this? Did you see it? Yes, I saw it. And just about every message I'm getting is like, oh, no. It's like, oh, no, what? You're not going to lose the Bills. You're not going to lose GR. You're fine. So that's sort of background leading into this article. And I know they're not actually related. And this is from today, early this morning. As Spotify makes its big push into video podcasting. Also recognize that I'm interested in all of this too, because what they're talking about is audio podcast versus video podcast versus live shows. I'm doing all of those things on my own. So how is this happening in the larger world? This is the stuff I think about all the time. So if this is boring to you, if you don't care about the business aspect of media and broadcasting and podcasting and video versus audio and relationships between these different entities, just bail on the rest of the show, because I think I'm going to be stuck here for a while, mostly because I can't get the Muppet story open. There's a story about the Muppets being uncompromising, but it's in one of the papers that always wants me to subscribe to it, and I can't just give everyone $2 a week or whatever it is. So I ignore it. If you're behind a paywall, I just go, never mind. Guess I can't read that one. I'll wait till it pops up somewhere else. That's a part of the landscape, too. Do I think that I should be able to read the Washington Post for free? No. But am I going to pay for that and the New York Times and USA Today? I don't even think that is one of them. But and the LA Times and whatever. Like, all these, I'm not going to do all of them. And The Athletic, and, you can't subscribe to everything. You can't just say yes to everything. No matter how small it is, you just forget about them. They add up. I want to read one article. I'm just not paying the Washington Times, or Washington Post, rather. So anyway, there's a story about the Muppets that I was really excited about. I like the Muppets. Got a lot of respect for the Muppets. I played Moving Right Along today. We use the Muppets in the open of every show. Got the Swedish Chef. Kermit. I'm pro Muppet, but I can't read that show. So you're getting the Netflix, Spotify thing. Starting in January, Spotify's Ringer Studios struck a deal with Netflix to bring select podcasts to the streaming platform. While the move may not ultimately convert all viewers into Spotify subscribers, the idea is to draw in incremental audiences as podcasts now compete against all types of media and possibly chip away at YouTube's dominance. And this is a quote from Bill Simmons. He's the founder of The Ringer. He's Spotify's head of talk strategy. I didn't know he added that title, but okay. You have to think about it as you're just trying to gain audience, especially in 2026, when everyone is just fighting to grab your attention at all times, all these different ways. To just assume you're going to get people just to come to you is, I think, naive. So, I hear that, and I'm like, how am I getting more people to come to the next episode of Brain Vault? So this is the stuff I'm thinking about. I operate on a much smaller level than Bill Simmons. I recognize that. But I think we have similar sensibilities. I'm just not where he is. And I don't plan to get where he is. But it's still the same principles apply. Like, you are competing for attention. Anything I'm doing here, sitting in my home, talking to you, every one of you that shows up, that's a victory. Every one of you that tunes in ever, Every one of you that knows the name of Writer Radio, knows the name of Brain Vault, knows where the Kaz is. That's a win. And you got to build on that. Build on those wins. And hope for the best. I'm not operating at that level, but it's the same mentality. It's the same stuff that I spend every day thinking about. Simmons told The Hollywood Reporter the streamer had first inquired about working together on the Rewatchables, the Ringer's film podcast, for a 10-episode or so run. Along with the vice president of podcast and video, the Ringer team decided to explore a bigger deal. The move comes a little more than a year after Spotify ended its exclusive distribution model for podcasts. For several years, Spotify shows weren't distributed widely, and the streamer was doling out big checks to keep names such as Alex Cooper and Joe Rogan. I've never heard of Alex Cooper. See what I mean, though? That's a big name that they mentioned before Joe Rogan, and I don't know who that is. And maybe he's the best. Maybe he's the best at it, but it just hasn't. The algorithm has not presented Alex Cooper to me. I'm going to look up who Alex Cooper is. Just for a sec. This will be quick. I'm not going to get bogged down in it because I want to get through a lot of the stuff in this article because it's very interesting to me. Who is Alex Cooper? Alex Cooper, podcaster. Born in 94. Oh, it's a girl. Okay. It's not a he. It's a she. Holding a barstool microphone in the picture on Wikipedia. An American podcaster who created and co-hosts Call Her Daddy, a weekly comedy and advice podcast on Spotify. In 2021, Time magazine called her arguably the most successful woman in podcasting after she signed a 3-year exclusive deal with Spotify worth $60 million, making $20 million per year, made her Spotify's highest-earning female podcaster and second highest-paid podcaster behind only Joe Rogan. The show was also the second most popular podcast globally on Spotify for 2024 behind Rogan. Okay, never heard of her. Now that I see her, I'm like, okay, if there's some guy named Alex who was super popular, I never heard of him, fine. But I'm not inclined to tune into something called Call Her Daddy. It's all right, not for me. Something for everybody. That one's not for me. Okay. So they were paying for exclusive rights to these things, but faced with heavy investment costs and unhappy investors and creators wanting to reach wider audiences, the company ended the strategy. Moving out of that, Simmons, whose company was acquired by Spotify in 2020, pushed for the broader Netflix deal, arguing that they needed to follow the consumer and putting more shows on Netflix would help grow audience members. I agree with that. I feel like if Writer Radio was on Netflix, it would be bigger. I don't see a path to that. But yeah, that's right. He says you can't, or you kind of can't tell people how to consume something. You almost have to work with them. It's like a negotiation. All right, how does this apply to me? Started the show when the radio part ended. Episode 101 was just on a Mixler, which was an audio thing that I was using. I still have a subscription. I slowly but surely ask people, go to YouTube. We're going to do YouTube. It's just one less thing I have to worry about. And a couple weeks ago, I just stopped using Mixler entirely, and I haven't heard one peep from anybody. And the people who were in the chat on Mixler are now in the chat on YouTube. So I'm doing the opposite here. I said, go to this other place. That's where we're going to do it. Same show, different location, kind of. But it's still your phone. It's still your computer. So it's not really a different location. And again, the difference between being part of a large network and being a guy at his house, I don't have the ability to do all the things. But that's right. If I could be on YouTube and Spotify and The Ringer and Netflix, that would be better. And that's kind of just what Bill Simmons is doing, just connecting all the things. It's right. You can't tell people where to consume or how to consume something. You almost have to work with them. It's like a negotiation. The initial lineup of Ringer shows on Netflix include the Bill Simmons podcast, the Zach Lowe Show, the McShay Show, the Rewatchables, Conspiracy Theories, and more. iHeartMedia and Barstool Sports have also struck deals with Netflix. Good Hang with Amy Poehler, which is the Ringer's most popular podcast, is not part of the deal. That's crazy to me that the Ringer is Simmons and Friends, in my mind. And the most popular part of it is Amy Poehler. Who knew? I'm not inclined to tune in to Good Hang with Amy Poehler. Doesn't mean it's not great. I'm thinking, you know who I want to hear from today is Amy Poehler. Maybe it's great. Man, there are a lot of options out there. All right. While the goal is to build a new audience for these shows and ultimately have them cross over to Spotify, Simmons acknowledges that some Netflix viewers may not ultimately make the leap, but he doesn't believe it will draw people away from Spotify and instead will reach a percentage of their audience that did not know these podcasts existed and possibly sway them. Video episodes still stream on Spotify as well. With the rewatchables, which is great, by the way, Simmons said the team will also be able to request titles for Netflix to license that the team will discuss on the podcast. See, this is the kind of stuff I think of, but I'm nowhere near these conversations. But of course that makes sense. They do a show called The Rewatchables. If I listen to an episode and it's about a movie that I've already seen, I'll very often want to find that movie right after I'm done listening. Like, oh yeah, I should watch Just One of the Guys. Or I should watch whatever, God, what did I just listen to? Zodiac. I saw Zodiac once. I liked it. Now I listened to 2 hours of people talking about it. Now I want to watch it again. How can I do that? And then you got to go find it. But part of the plan here is to have a Netflix show pop up for the podcast once a user has finished watching the film. The Ringer has also upgraded to 4K resolution for its shows. I added a ring light. Not exactly 4K. You don't want this in 4K. Maybe you do, now that I got touched up by buffalo trim. Maybe. There's a financial incentive in the partnership. The managing director of The Ringer says they have a financial agreement that's beneficial to everyone but declined to provide further details. Bloomberg reported that, for example, Barstool is earning more than $10 million a year from its deal. Netflix is not running ad breaks with these shows, but the advertising that's already integrated in the shows remains. But as part of the deal, full episodes of these Ringer shows will no longer run on YouTube, cutting off the episodes from the most popular podcasting platform. A big part of Netflix's own goal in bringing podcasts onto its platform was to compete with YouTube and to increase time spent on its platform. Netflix is not allowing the podcasts on YouTube. Netflix not allowing the podcasts on YouTube has been a turnoff for some podcast creators across platforms. I'll interrupt there. I do not have an offer on the table from Netflix. But if I did, it would fly in the face of everything that I've learned, which is the one place you need to be is YouTube. You got to be on there. But maybe you don't if you're on everything else and you're getting paid to not be on YouTube. Maybe that's right. But for me, that's where I had to be. That's why the transition from Mixlr to YouTube. And again, this connects to the Bills and the WGR thing. Like, everything is moving around. They're all different plans. Like, hey, wait, what if we stopped selling this and instead did it this way? What if we stopped paying for this and instead approached it this way? There's room for all of us. There's room for everyone. But we all have different ideas of where this is all going between digital and broadcast. So that all makes sense too. Simmons argues that having episodes on Spotify is enough, as odds are if you have YouTube, you have Spotify. Clips of the episodes are still on YouTube, and he sees an advantage to partnering with Netflix. Here's a quote: "With YouTube, you're trading off something for something every time, but Netflix actually cares about having us on the platform. They're promoting us. We're working with them. We're innovating with them. YouTube has kind of this attitude like, you're lucky to be on YouTube, which congrats to them, but I'm not sure how long that's sustainable." Probably right. Still, YouTube has a massive presence with more than 1 billion monthly viewers for its podcast content worldwide. By comparison, while Spotify does not break out its monthly viewership for podcasts, the company said more than 390 million users have streamed a video podcast on Spotify as of its third quarter of 2025, which marked a 54% increase year over year. That 54% includes me. How about that? Anybody tuning in to Writer Radio, we're adding to the Spotify thing. If you're doing it on Spotify, you might just be doing it on YouTube. I don't know. Spotify has been expanding its own video podcast efforts, broadening eligibility for its paid creator program, and partnering with independent podcast hosting platforms to allow their shows to monetize their video podcasts on Spotify. The beauty of a podcast, which didn't used to include video, is that it was an independent thing, so you didn't have to deal with the corporate layers. Now it's these podcast platforms are dealing with streaming services. So it's this whole revolution of making media an independent possibility is now it's gobbled up. So It was, we don't have to deal with networks anymore. We can just do podcasts. And then larger corporations are like, you know what? We could be like a network for podcasts. And then larger ones are like, we could be a network for the networks of podcasts. And we could put them all together. And I'm still at the very bottom of all of it, which sucks. But it's also interesting to me. And, I mean, this is what I do. I've done other stuff. For like 14 years, I did almost no radio. And I'm cutting this. That's why I call it Writer Radio. This is the same damn thing to me. Doing a show for you is the same as doing a show on a radio station, is the same as doing a show anywhere. It's still the same. And at some point, I decided I was going to just start doing this. And then I got an offer to work at a radio station. I did that for a little while. And then that went away. And then I just kept doing this. And now we're at 258 episodes of this. And what else can I do? Well, we can do a live trivia show at Brain Vault because somebody reached out to me. It's not dissimilar. They're looking, the Kaz was looking for something specifically midweek. I said, how about Tuesdays? They said, Tuesdays are great. You got Tuesdays. So that's my, the Kaz is my Netflix or my Spotify or my whatever. Doing the show. It's independent. But it garnered enough interest from a larger entity to say, hey, can you come do a thing for me? And the answer is yes, I can. It all fits together. This might just sound like a crazy, self-serving, convoluted show, but it's my verbal exploration of the changing media landscape in 2026. And that's what I'm going with. And my philosophy has always been, if I'm doing a show, talk about the thing that's interesting to me, and then it'll be interesting to people. And this is interesting to me. So you're getting like the fired up, most passionate version of me, and I think that is good. So again, if you think this is all, who cares? Go away for a day. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll just be silly tomorrow probably. But today I'm super interested in all this. Spotify's been expanding its own video podcast efforts. I already did that. Asked about how the company views YouTube, spokesman said, I don't think it's a one-to-one competition. I think we can grow the pie everywhere. Even so, this is no longer a quote, even so, while YouTube is a behemoth in the podcasting world, there's a sense that it's accidentally fallen into that position. Amid that, there may be somewhat of an opening for other players, even as it remains hard to compete with its overall media dominance and with creators' desire to be on YouTube. Here's another quote. This is from the CEO of podcasting platform Acast. YouTube is not a destination for seeking out content and consuming it. It's algorithmically served to you. And so I think it's amazing for podcast discovery. I don't think it's the future for podcast consumption. Moving forward, as podcasters increasingly compete for audiences' attention with TV shows, movies, and other social media, Simmons said he believes that it won't be the same free-for-all it was in the past when anyone could launch a podcast. In turn, he sees the number of podcasts decreasing and the bigger, more committed players outlasting the others. This is the end of the article. It's really long. All right, here's a long quote. This is all in quotes. Until I tell you it's not, this is in quotes from Bill Simmons. The serial error is that the companies, and I'll include Spotify, are just way more leery of writing checks for podcasts if you're not sure that somebody's 100% committed to doing it. We saw this era where podcasts became one of the 4 or 5 things somebody was doing and a great way for them to get paid. But based on trial and error, I think those days are over. And if you're going to do this and you're going to compete in the podcast big leagues, you have to take it seriously and really care about it. And if you don't, it's not going to work. I've heard him talk about this, that it's got to be either the first or second thing that you're doing. It can't be, I'm a professional athlete and a rapper and I host a podcast, because it just, and I agreed with it when I heard it, and I'm maybe not channeling it the same way that he said it and not, accurately framing it, but you can tell commitment versus non-commitment. And I take solace in the fact that there's a commitment here from me. I'm doing that. But then he says big leagues. I'm not in big leagues. This is minor league. Guy at his house in Buffalo. Doesn't mean I can't do it. You see why I'm thinking about all this stuff? It's all connected to me. One example of that for Simmons is Good Hang with Amy Poehler, which The Ringer launched in March and has gained major traction, as well as a Golden Globe. Simmons says he and his team were confident in the podcast because Poehler's talent and enthusiasm for podcasting, as well as the specific piece of turf they felt she could take in the podcasting world based on the data they had collected. Here's another quote. We were probably more certain that was going to work than anything I've done since 30 for 30. The Ringer does not have a quota on the number of originals it will launch each year, but Simmons said his team is continuing to think about launching new shows when there's an identified niche. We used to say niche, and it became niche. Sad. And a creator who is committed to the show. They've also been working to change the story around Spotify from a platform that just writes paychecks for podcasts to one that brings more value. And there are plans to do more live events. On deck, his team plans to relaunch The Hottest Take, which was formerly an audio-only podcast where Simmons and others debate controversial topics in a video format to better showcase the celebrity guests debating. Episodes of that podcast were typically already 7 to 8 minutes, which he says could also be a trend as the different types of media compete for audience attention. It's so crazy because YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels are all the rage. You got to have those. You want to get attention, you got to have those. But aside from things I'm learning today, what's, to me, the most popular, prominent podcast? It's Joe Rogan, who talks for 3 hours. And, yeah, they pull clips out of that, and that gets people to go to the show, and everybody knows his name, all that stuff. But really long form, great. Really short, great. 2 hours a day live in Buffalo. I don't know. Says maybe that's something that in 2026 makes a ton of sense, the 7 to 8 minute podcast. That's how we feel. I guess we'll find out because it's shorter attention, fast, looks good. Maybe that's the evolution of some of the stuff that's going to happen. And that's how the article ends. And I said I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I read the whole thing, every word of it, because I find it super interesting. All right, what's next? Giannis trade movers. James Harden got traded. Harden to the Cavs. Sabres lost in what seemed to be a terrible way. I got to look at the box score, but it was explained to me that Tampa scored to make it 3-3 with seconds left in regulation, and then they scored to win it 4-3 with seconds left in overtime. And now Tampa sits atop the Eastern Conference with 76 points. The Sabres are at 70, but Tampa's got 2 games in hand on them. So it sounds like a tough loss, but also, by all accounts, the third period was awesome. And the team's competing with the top team in the conference and doing well. And they're still, they're rolling. 32, 18, and 6, good for 70 points. Let me do the wild card standings. I like that one better. All right, Sabres, they did get a point last night, so they now are in the top 3 in their division and not in the little wild card list. So it's 3 in the Atlantic, Tampa, Detroit, Sabres. 3 in the Metro, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Islanders. And then the 2 wild cards right now are Montreal and Boston. Montreal with 70 points in 56 games, which is the same as the Sabres. But Sabres have one more regulation win, it appears. No, that's the same number too. Oh, no, regulation win, they've got 6 more. Okay. All right, so yeah, that's the first tiebreaker, as long as they're still doing it that way. I believe they are. And then Boston at 68. But really, the thing you want to look at is 9th place. Where's 9th place right now? 9th place is at 63 points, and the Sabres are 7 up on that. Columbus at 63. They've got a game in hand. But they're comfortably in the playoffs. We're 56 games into the season, and the Sabres are comfortably. You got to keep doing it, but they're like in the playoffs, in the thick of the playoffs, not chasing it, not trying to leapfrog 17 teams, but hanging. So that's good. We like that. We have another explanation on a guy who didn't vote for Bill Belichick for the Hall of Fame, and he was less diplomatic, I'll say, than the previous guy. There was a guy from the KC Star who explained his rationale, and we talked about this when I had Bob on. Was that yesterday that Bob Gahn was on? Yeah. That there's a group of 5 people eligible. It's Veterans Committee plus builders or whatever you want to call it. So it's 3 former players and Belichick and Robert Kraft. And each voter had to pick 3 of those people. And the explanation from the first guy was, I voted for the 3 players because this is their last chance to get in. Belichick is going to get in at some point. Kraft, whatever. But these guys, it's now or never, and I get to pick 3. So I'm picking the now or never guys, and we're good. And that led to a conversation yesterday where we said, kind of implied, that's probably the general rationale. But it turns out it's not exactly. Certainly not for everyone. Mike Chappell from Indy talked about his decision to not vote for Belichick. And he did bring up the things that we're all thinking. He did bring up Spygate, Deflategate, general surliness. I don't know if that's actually in here, but when Belichick doesn't get in automatically, it's like, well, right, because everybody hates him. Why am I voting for a guy I can't stand? Everyone questions how all that stuff went down. There are, documented issues that the team wasn't doing things the right way. Eventually, it'll all get put aside. Like, yeah, he's the greatest. But there's an asterisk that sits there on this guy's resume. He said, where is this? He wrote this. He wrote that he didn't vote against Belichick. He voted for Robert Kraft. Unlike the Kansas City guy who explicitly said the cheating scandals played no role in his thinking, Chappell acknowledged that Spygate factored into his decision to choose the Patriots owner over the Patriots coach. Okay. He says, I'm not going to dive too deeply into my Kraft over Belichick decision. I know it won't change anyone's mind, but I did take into consideration Kraft's role in building the Patriots dynasty beginning in 94 and his undeniable role in helping negotiate the end of the 100-play-day work stoppage in 2011 while his wife was gravely ill that has resulted in long-standing labor peace. He's also been involved behind the scenes in bolstering the NFL's ever-increasing TV revenue. And then the next bullet point says, Belichick and Spygate. There's no denying the staggering numbers, 333 wins, second only to Don Shula's 347, and Super Bowl championships, 6 as the Patriots head coach, 2 more as the Giants assistant. Deflategate was also brought up during the Belichick discussion, but there's no erasing the stain of Spygate from his bio. This wasn't alleged behavior. The NFL fined Belichick $500,000, the maximum allowed, along with docking the Patriots $250,000 and a first-round draft pick for illegally videotaping the New York Jets signals in 2007. So that all happened. And then it's like, all right, do we worship this guy? Does he need to be in right now? I was like, well, I don't know. I remember when he got fined $500,000 and his team lost $250,000 and a first-round draft pick because we know he was cheating. And then it gets back to the thing Bob brought up yesterday, where the Rams in their Super Bowl against the Patriots, the start of the Patriots run, went to run a play they'd never run before, and Teddy Bruschi's calling it out. And like, what the hell's going on here? How do they know that? We've never run this play before. We've practiced it. We've never run it. So a team that is going to videotape the Jets signals in 2007 isn't the same group that would be doing something similar to get ready for a Super Bowl where they're 14-point underdogs. And John Clayton tells me they have no chance of winning. I know that's the 3rd day in a row I brought that up, but it sticks out being in New Orleans that week. And my question was, John, do the Patriots have a chance here? And he said, no. And that was the whole answer. No. Greatest show on turf? No way. And they won it. And good for you. Sort of. But it felt suspicious and weird. And then years later, so when it comes time to vote for the guy, that stuff is in the heads of the people who are voting. The Kansas City Reporter used Gregorian is his name. Used all 3 of his available votes on the senior candidates, which are the players, which are Kenny Anderson, Bengals quarterback, Roger Craig, running back from the Niners, and L.C. Greenwood of the Steelers, arguing they faced narrowing windows for enshrinement while Belichick would inevitably get in soon. Chappell took a different approach. He voted for Kraft and 2 senior candidates, which meant making an explicit choice between the 2 Patriots figures who defined the dynasty. Well, I would say Brady defined the dynasty, but either way. He explained he generally favors senior candidates because they won't get another chance if the seniors committee doesn't bring them back, but that doesn't fully explain why he chose Kraft over Belichick when both would presumably have future opportunities for induction. He says, one other factor steered my voting. I'm not in favor of grouping senior candidates with coaches and contributors, but that's above my pay grade. Most of the time, I'm going to lean toward supporting a senior nominee. If that player or players doesn't get the necessary support when presented by the seniors committee, there's a very good chance they'll never again be considered. He says, I voted for one coach or contributor and two senior candidates. He insists Belichick belongs in the Hall of Fame and expects him to get in next year. He dismissed media speculation that Belichick's prickly relationship with reporters influenced votes, calling it asinine, and he acknowledged Kraft and Belichick likely pulled votes from each other. So now two voters have explained themselves with totally different rationales. You needed 11 to not vote for Belichick. They didn't necessarily vote against Belichick. They just didn't vote for him. And now we've got two different explanations for why that happened. It's entirely plausible that without this being a conspiracy, without this being Bill Polian standing on a table and pounding his fist, whatever, saying this guy can't get, we didn't need that. We need 11 of 50 people to have a similar or dissimilar even rationale about why you just don't feel like that's a name you're choosing. Of the 5, you're choosing 3, and here's why I didn't pick that guy. We got two different explanations on it. It now, to me, is totally plausible that there's no conspiracy, there's no nothing. It's just a bunch of people are looking at it going, I don't know, feels gross. Feels a little gross, and I don't like the way it's set up where the coach and the owner and 3 players are all on the same ballot, and I get to pick 3 of it. Like, all of it. It all adds up. It all makes sense to me. All right, close that. What do I have written down on my sheet? Brainball post-game. Alternative halftime show. Bill Sabres leaving GR. Oh, the NFC won the Pro Bowl 66-52. One of the highlights that beat out that soccer goal that Tim Graham loved, that was only number 5 on SportsCenter's top 10 yesterday, was an interception return for a touchdown by Jamar Chase, who made a kind of one-handed-ish catch at the goal line and then sprinted the length of the field and then did a flip into the end zone, and it was fine. Like, I could see my kids watching it and liking it because you get to see the receivers' faces. Everybody loves, all the kids love receivers. And I can see how it's appealing. I don't want to just use all of Tim Graham's opinions, but he was fired up watching SportsCenter last night. And he said, they make a mockery of flag football. People really do compete in flag football, but then you have the NFL players, and they're out there treating it like it's a joke, and it makes the sport a joke. Flag football can't get elevated to something beyond what it is if it's treated like a joke by the top players in the league. And I thought that was an interesting take. I don't know that I 100% believe it, because I think flag football has its place. My kids play it. They love it. And they want to play real football too. They haven't gotten to that yet. And I'm all right with that. So I think it has a place for kids. And there are like varsity girls flag teams around here. I don't know if they have varsity boys flag yet. I would think no, but maybe that's coming. Maybe that's the future. I said yesterday, while we were downstairs in the green room at the Caz, getting ready for Brain Vault, I was handed a USB drive that I needed to put in to transfer a file for the show or something. And I said, just once in my life, I want to put a USB drive into a computer the right way the first time without putting it in, doesn't fit, and you got to turn it over and then it fits. Just once. I want that to happen. It happened this morning. That's the kind of day I'm having. Mark that down. February 4th, 2026, episode 258. I had my first, I believe, ever experience with plugging in a USB drive the correct way the first try. Congratulations to me. Very proud of that. I wrote down trivia from last night. It occurred to me that I'm writing all this trivia. It's a lot of work getting ready for a live trivia show. And then I go and I do it, and then it's gone into the ether. Poof. And it doesn't have to be that way. I'm not doing this today, but I think we could start making Wednesdays, Brain Vault Wednesdays, now that the show's over. Now I can reveal the questions. Now you can play along at home. And I'm going to do it just out loud, but there's a way to do it. So when we're at these Brain Vault events, there's a QR code you scan in, and you get to play along on your phone. multiple choice, 10 questions per round, multiple choice things come up. You got to answer as quickly as you can. I have the ability to just give you that code and we can play here on the show. I thought of it 5 minutes before the show started today, so it's not happening today. But I do have written out all of the questions that I asked when people came on stage. And those we can play with here. Do I have them sitting right in there? Right in front of me. So the way the show works is people are in the crowd and they scan this code, and the first thing we do is a 10-question quiz where we're talking. And I'm reading the stuff out loud, and it's a countdown, and you're just answering things, and there's a leaderboard. And then at the end of that, we pull a name from the vault. That person is invited on stage. What we did yesterday, I said, it's award season right now. So I had 4 different categories of awards-related questions. And the choices were Grammy Award winners, NFL award winners, Golden Raspberry Award winners, which is the Razzies, which are like the anti-Oscars, awards for terrible movies. They've been giving them out since 1981. And then just for fun, wasn't received as well as I had hoped, Nobel Peace Prize winners. Now, I'm not going to make you know everything that's ever happened in the world. You gotta trust me when you're coming up there that I'm going to make it fun. So people avoided that one like the plague. The way that we did it yesterday, and I don't know if this is how it's going to go moving forward, but I think so. I planned on 4 people coming on stage, and I had 4 categories ready. The first one up got to pick whichever he wanted, which went, the first guy went NFL. And I'm going to present these to you. We're just going to do it quick because I've got 10 minutes left in this show, and I've got 20 trivia questions here, and we're just going to play. And this is not for anything. You can answer in the chat if you would like. Or you can just sit and listen and see what you know. NFL award winners. Which player won Super Bowl MVP 5 times? We start easy. We ramp up to difficult. Who won the Super Bowl MVP 5 times? Yeah, you know it. Let's see. Super Bowl MVP list. Just want to make sure that I got this right. Because I write in a hurry. And I had to get there and get set up and stuff. But just want to make sure that this is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Tom Brady is the right answer. What player has won the most NFL MVP awards all time? This one is not Tom Brady. This is a boring way to do trivia because I don't have any bells or whistles or audience or cheering or nothing. It's just me asking questions and you get to answer them. But it's all right. I don't have anybody to bounce it off of. It's just me. Correct answer is Peyton Manning, who were the only 2 defensive players to win the NFL MVP award. One of them was in 1971. He was a Viking. One of them was in 1986. He was on cocaine. We're looking for Alan Page and Lawrence Taylor. The 4th question, under the category of NFL award winners, who won the NFL Offensive Player of the Year award 3 straight seasons from 1987 to 1989. Now, I don't remember if it worked this way back then, too, but the NFL MVP award has clearly become a quarterback award and then occasionally a running back award. That's all whoever wins it. Offensive Player of the Year tends to be receivers. So knowing that, who's the receiver from 1987 to 1989 that was named Offensive Player of the Year 3 consecutive seasons? And it's Jerry Rice. And then this one's kind of fun. Bruce Smith was named NFL Defensive Player in both 1990 and 1996. Which Bills teammate took the same honor in 1995? And it's a name you may not have thought about in a while. Or maybe it's top of mind. Maybe you think of it immediately. I believe the person on stage guessed Cornelius Bennett, which was a very reasonable guess. Because that's when you think of that Bills defense, you think of like Bruce, think of Talley, think of Odoms, think of Hansen, think of Bennett. So those guys were there for Super Bowls. 1995 guy was not there for the Super Bowl. He came over in free agency and then led the league in sacks, and it was Bryce Paup. So from 90 to 96, 3 times the Bills won Defensive Player of the Year. Twice Bruce Smith, once Bryce Pop. All right, the next one we did was this music one, I think. The music one, Grammy Award winners. Just going through. You can tune out if you want. You don't have to be here. But I don't see any reason to waste these. They're getting thrown out. There. Football one, garbage. Grammy Award winners. In 1989, what hip-hop duo won the first ever Grammy Award for Best Rap Performance? Hip-hop duo, first Grammy for hip-hop performance. I'm going to spoil the next question a little bit, but they go together. 1989, music was changing. The Grammys were trying to get cooler. They're like, you know what? There's a lot of rapping going on. We should have an award for that. And you know what? There's a lot of metal. We should have an award for that. So the next question is going to be about the best hard rock and metal performance winner from the same year, 1989. Rap performance was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince for, I believe, their album, He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper, but it might have just been for Parents Just Don't Understand. I could look that up, but it's not that important. They were the winners. The first ever rap performance award went to Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. The same year, what rock band famously beat AC/DC, Iggy Pop, Jane's Addiction, and Metallica to earn the first ever Grammy for Best Hard Rock Metal Performance? And that was Jethro Tull. It was very confusing. It was like, we are progressing. We are moving on. We are honoring metal and rap. It was like, yeah, Fresh Prince and Jethro Tull for their album Crest of a Knave. Those are barely words. In 2000, whose album set a record by winning 9 Grammys in one night? And I gave so many clues and nobody could get this. My main clue is, this is the song that I feel the most overplayed. Like, you know when a song is really popular and you can't avoid it for like 2 months? Just everywhere you go, you're hearing Smooth by Santana and Rob Thomas. I don't remember ever being inundated with a song more than that one in that era, because they played it on every format of every radio station. Or every format of radio station is what I was trying to say. So it was a classic rock song because it was Santana. It was a pop song. It's kind of easy listening. It just fit everywhere. Well, it's a hot one. Question 4. Frank Sinatra, Paul Simon, and Stevie Wonder have each won Album of the Year 3 times, tying them for second behind what artist who's won 4? There's only one artist in Grammy history to win Album of the Year 4 times. Doing so in 2010, 2016, 2021, and 2024. Once I said that, they got it immediately. That was Taylor Swift. And then, Jethro Tull is a band. Ray, you know that. Although if I had the last name Tull and had a son, I think I'd at least go middle name Jethro. Like if I was Brad Tull instead of Brad Ryder, my first son, instead of being Zachary Kenneth Ryder, would probably be Zachary Jethro Tull. I think you have to use what you're gifted, something like that. You have to go with it. Final question. 4 movie soundtracks have been named Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards. First one was in 1959, the music from Peter Gunn. Name as many of the others as you can, and I'll give you the years they won. 1979, soundtrack movie took over the world. Tim Graham had a good alternative guess, which was Grease, because that seemed to be a big deal. And it's about that era. But 1979, there was a movie and a soundtrack that were massive. I was 4 years old. I still remember this being massive. Saturday Night Fever, Bee Gees. Original movie soundtrack from Saturday Night Fever. 1994, Kevin Costner movie, which I've never seen. Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard, won won Album of the Year. And then the other was in 2002, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Where Art Thou? That's hard to say. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Won. All right, we've got 2 more pages of these in 2 minutes. I'm going to save Nobel Peace Prize for last. It sounds not fun, but you'll impress yourself by knowing these things. The guy who came on stage was just like, I can't do it. And then he was great. He got the vast majority of them. Razzie Awards, bad movies. What on-again, off-again celebrity couple was named Worst Actor and Actress of the Decade in 2010, starred together in the 2000 film Geely, which was named the Worst Picture of the Year, and later Worst Picture of the Decade, and later Worst Comedy of the first 25 years of the Razzies. We were looking for Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, who was named Worst Actress for Catwoman, and then showed up to accept the Razzie while holding her Oscar. That was Halle Berry. What 1987 film was the first to win both an Oscar, Michael Douglas as Best Lead Actor, and a Razzie, Daryl Hannah as Worst Supporting Actress? I'll give you a few seconds. I feel like I'm going too fast, not letting you play along. This is why they have 30 seconds of Jeopardy theme music, right? You're trying to think of something? Michael Douglas, Best Actor. Daryl Hannah, Worst Supporting Actress. Wall Street, 1987. Lead actress Elizabeth Berkley helped what 1994 film beat a loaded field that included Congo, It's Pat, The Scarlet Letter, and Waterworld to take home Worst Picture. In 1995, that was Showgirls. And most recently being named Worst Supporting Actor for The Expendables 4. What actor holds the record for most Razzie nominations with 40? And Razzie Awards won with 12. Most recently being named... Oh, I already read that, sorry. I did the same thing last night. I have it written down twice and said it twice. He was also named Worst Actor of the 80s and later Worst Actor of the 20th Century. Got that one right last night. Sly Stallone. All right, and Nobel Peace Prize winners. So challenge yourself here. You don't have to type it. Just think. See if you can do it. I'm going to give you the year, and I'm going to tell you the quote on why that person was named the Nobel Peace Prize winner. 1964, for his nonviolent struggle for civil rights for the Afro-American population. That's the official quote. I haven't heard Afro-American in a while. But in 1964, that was the right way to say it when awarding a Nobel Peace Prize to Martin Luther King Jr. Okay? It's not as hard as you think. Some of them are. Nobel Peace Prize 1979 for her work for bringing help to suffering humanity. The guy got this one right away. Mother Teresa. 1983. Now, this is one, I put this on here because I remember this name from then. When I was a kid, I was in third grade, and I remember we used to watch a thing called Assignment the World on classroom television. You know, roll the thing in and turn it on. It's like a 15-minute PBS-produced news show for kids. But I remember the Solidarity movement in Poland being led by this guy. And I felt weird bringing it up, but the guy on the stage got it right. So 1983, for nonviolent struggle for free trade unions and human rights in Poland, the answer was Lech Walesa, or Walesa. 1990, for the leading role he played in the radical changes in East-West relations. The guy got this one right, too. Mikhail Gorbachev. 2002, for his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. That answer was Jimmy Carter. And finally, 2009, for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples, and that was Barack Obama. And that was how we wrapped up the show last night. See, you thought Nobel Peace Prize sounds terrible. It's not terrible. These are names you've heard, the vast majority of them. You can do it. We gotta stop scaring people from coming on the stage for Brain Ball. That's the next step in the evolution. It's like, what are we going to do to make people not afraid of us? Not afraid to come up there? Well, incentivize with prizes is one, which has been a plan all along, just haven't gotten to it. We're just getting the thing rolling. And I'm not apologizing, I'm explaining that it's not fully formed. It's a process. I'm, after every one of these shows, talking to people involved, people who came out to see it, friends, family, strangers, co-hosts, panelists, people who work at the venue. All right, what can we do next time to improve upon this time? And we're going to keep doing that, and it's going to keep getting better. So I'm looking forward to having you all there a week from yesterday when we do episode 3 of Brain Vault live from the cast. All right, that's it for the show for today. Thanks for listening, watching, texting, emailing, not calling. We didn't take any calls, no guests, no nothing. It's a lot of me rambling about media things. I'm done. I have a sore throat. I talked too long. It's not sore. I had one bottle of water the whole time, so I had a little bit left. Let me fix it. Oh, I'm going to fix it. Now I feel better. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow on episode 259. That'll do it for Writer Radio, brought to you by Brian Janik and the Financial Guys. And thanks again to our sponsors of Brain Vault, which are the Financial Guys, and Buffalo Trim, that made me look more presentable and worthy of being on camera. They did a great job. Getting lots of compliments that I look much younger and like I got it together a little bit. And that's all thanks to Buffalo Trim. I recommend you go there. They say that once you give them a try, give us a try and you won't go anywhere else is the specific tagline they use. But they're open every day, no appointments, so you walk in anytime. Locations in Amherst, East Amherst, Williamsville, Blaisdell, Orchard Park, Hamburg. TVs everywhere, billiards, most importantly, a haircut's $25. That's it. Be sure to try the Workin' Man package. Workin' apostrophe man package. Haircut, hot lather neck shave, the best. And shampoo for $29. Again, Buffalo Trim. Give us a try. You won't go anywhere else. And let me give you some details on the Financial Guys as well. Retirement, taxes, investments, insurance. Come on. Retirement, taxes, investments, insurance. Why juggle 5 firms when you can have one? At the Financial Guys, your one-stop financial shop, we coordinate your plan under one roof. Social Security timing, tax-smart withdrawals, investments, Medicare, Janik, and protection for what matters most. Also, they want you to know about their radio show / podcast, Financial Guys, where money meets politics. And yes, it's exactly as it sounds. We call out the government for its overspending, expose the fraudsters hiding behind bureaucracy, and break down how Washington's mess hits your wallet. From taxes to inflation, crime to corruption, we're not afraid to name names. If you're tired of legacy media narratives and ready for the truth, turn into the Financial Guys podcast, streaming everywhere with new episodes every week. The Financial Guys, where money meets politics. So thanks to all of them, all the Financial Guys, Buffalo Trim, and then specifically Brian Janik from the Financial Guys, because that's a whole separate thing, even though he's under that umbrella. Now I'm done. Thanks. Talk to you tomorrow. Nope.
What are you doing for lunch? I don't know. I have a turkey sandwich.
We're gonna go around the corner. I think you should come with us. This is a great place.
Okay.
We brought you a shirt.
You get out of here? Will you get out of here? Will you? Now, will you go to lunch? Go to lunch. Will you go to lunch?